Thanks. My name's Rob Kurver. I'm the founding partner of the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance, and I just love being here. I have to say, when Jason and I had our first call a couple of weeks ago, I was a little bit, well, when he told me it was in Lisbon, I said, yes, I'll come. And then we started to talk about the actual, let's say, the event. Because in my experience, telco events don't always talk about innovation. So I love the session this morning, and I don't mind that you run a little bit longer, because I think this is really crucial, right? Leadership, innovation, etc. in this industry. I've only been in telco for a short while, 18 years, which is nothing, right, in this industry. You don't count in this industry unless you're at least in it for 30 or 40 years, which is one of the issues. I started as a hosted voice provider 18 years ago, before the word hosted voice existed or cloud communications existed. And then for the past 10 years or so, I've been active in working with telcos, working on innovation with the larger telcos. And 10 years working in telcos gets you gray hair, or no hair, I guess. It's interesting, let's say that. It's interesting, right? All the slides that you had this morning are so true. And at the same time, and still, and the reason I keep doing it, is because I think the telcos, the MNOs, have a crucial role to play going forward in this space of communication. So 3 years ago, I founded the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance because I thought it would be a good idea to bring CPaaS parties together in a sort of a industry alliance consortium. Seemed like a good idea at the time. This was January 2020. And our first event was going to be at Mobile World Congress 2020 in Barcelona. Nobody showed up. So that was easy. We put it on ice for a couple of years, and we picked it up last year. And we started really bringing this alliance to life by bringing CPaaS providers, vendors, analysts, media partners, event partners, CSPs, telcos, MNOs together to learn. This comes back to your point this morning about co-creation, ecosystem. I think we need to do this together. Also exactly what you were talking about, Stuart. I mean, we need to do this together as a global industry. So 6 months later, this is our little brag board. These are the members that we have today, that we signed up. They're 54, I think, and I'm not sure if the ROCCO logo has been added yet, but that was added this week to the website. Thank you. As you can see, we have a fast-growing alliance with a variety of members all talking about what's happening in CPaaS, what can be done in CPaaS, what needs to be done in CPaaS, etc. Now, the problem, the elephant in the room, I would say, is the word CPaaS. Because if I were to ask in this room 5 people what they think CPaaS is, I would get 5 different answers. Well, maybe in this particular room, I would get 3 people that said CPaaS is messaging and more messaging. The way we look at it, CPaaS is everything programmable telcos that has APIs and flexibility and new use cases and customer focus and customer experience somehow in its system. So that includes messaging, definitely, but it also includes contact centers. Contact centers are changing rapidly. We'll talk a little bit more about AI. That's a massive change in this whole industry. It also includes things like IoT. It includes voice-enabled collaboration platforms. It includes what Microsoft is doing with ACS. All of these things for us are CPaaS. And what we've done, and what I talk a little bit about, is we set out a couple of months ago with our partners, with our analyst partners, with our members, to work, I think it's an 18-page short little report about the state of CPaaS, where we talk about basically the vision that we have for this industry, what's happening, where it's going, where the opportunities are, and a little bit where the challenges are and how they could be possibly overcome. So I'll walk you through that in my remaining 6 minutes and 50 seconds. This is what we collectively, working with all our NS partners, see as the forecast for the CPaaS industry. No hockey stick. A steady growth, 25, 30%, which sort of everybody agrees on. Now, the interesting thing is where the growth is coming from. Because right now we're at like 15 billion, which is largely messaging. 80% or so of the current CPaaS business is messaging. And that continues to grow at a few percent per year. So where's the rest of the growth coming from is a big question, because that's where the opportunity is. So one growth area that we've identified is channel partners, including telcos. And I'm sure we'll have a bit more Q&A on that in the panel discussion. But in our minds and looking at where the industry is heading, basically what we can see is that the early days of CPaaS, a lot of messaging, a lot of 2FA, a lot of the large digital natives, I think still maybe, I should ask Stuart, 70% probably of the messaging revenues worldwide is probably Facebook, 2FA from banks, and stuff like that. Right? Uber, I think every CPaaS messaging vendor that has done any marketing in the past 10 years has proclaimed that Uber is their biggest customer. We're moving into a phase where everybody, post-COVID, small enterprises also are moving into, let's say, the world of CPaaS. Digital transformation is the highest priority for business leaders and CIOs these days, if you look at Gartner. CSPs, channel partners, crucial. Small and medium enterprises, a huge portion of the market. 90% of people work outside of large enterprises. A lot of customers don't only shop at Coca-Cola and Nike and the big brands, they also shop with their local retailers. They have hairdressers that they need to make appointments to. All these smaller companies that don't have developers on board, but want to make use of all these new innovations. So the SME space, and there, things like low-code, no-code, easy to use, pre-built, configured applications are crucial. And of course, large and global enterprises, still very important, especially the globalization. We've seen this big move from local service providers to global players. And I think this is also very interesting to see the hyperscalers and the telcos worldwide joining forces. Key macro trends. I'll go very quickly here. The report is freely downloadable, and there's a link at the end of the presentation, so you can go pick it up and read it in detail. COVID-19, of course, accelerated the move to mobile. Enterprises are moving to CPaaS in different ways, the whole digital transformation. It's got a leg. Yeah. It's cool. Okay. AI. I think we have seen nothing yet. I'm curious, show of hands, how many people here in the room use AI? Things like ChatGPT or Midjourney, how many use it for your work every day? Yeah. How many here have not used ChatGPT for work at all? You're missing out on something. No, seriously, it's amazing. There's many flaws, there's many issues, there's many everything. It's amazing how much of a game changer this thing is. These large language models, and we haven't seen the beginning of it yet. Now, this is interesting. Service providers, telcos, are embracing API standardization. I was doing a little project at a Dutch telco, an incumbent, KPN, couple of years ago, we built an API store where we brought together a bunch of APIs from service providers, from CPaaS vendors, from, I don't know, we had 30, 40 suppliers, vendors at some point. We brought them together in an API platform. And I also went around inside the telco asking for the support from the network team. We talked about RCS and MAS, I think it was called, and we talked about opening up the network. They didn't tell me to leave, they chased me out of the office. How dared I talk about open networks, APIs, giving access to the network to the competition? I was crazy. Now, 5 years later, of course, we all know what's happening at the GSMA Project Camara, Open Gateway Initiative. There's a whole new play. Telcos globally are looking at opening up the network because they see it's the only way to monetize 5G. All the investments that have been made in the infrastructure and going to be made are only going to be profitable, maybe, perhaps, by going through APIs, CPaaS, network APIs, new use cases, etc. So this is really exciting, I think, in this whole space. And then, of course, we have the global growth and the market consolidation that continues. Certain parts of the CPaaS industry are consolidating because the margins are shrinking, commoditizing. So CPaaS, the way we look at CPaaS 1.0, where it started 15 years ago, messaging, 2FA, basic stuff. Really important. Some interesting companies evolved, companies like Twilio, Sinch, Infobip. And I know Twilio gets a lot of flack right now because their valuation dropped by, I don't know, 80% or so. It's still a $10 billion startup that's only 10 or 15 years old. So it's still pretty interesting. And same if you look at the Infobips and the Sinch of this world, it's pretty interesting what's happening there. All built on CPaaS 1.0. Now, where it gets interesting in my mind is 2.0, where we're adding voice and video, etc., to all the UC. And where it gets really interesting is CPaaS 3.0, which is really about customer experience in all ways possible, including the telco APIs, including advanced applications, including bringing it to SME, including low-code, no-code developers platforms, new channels. This is where we are now, and this is what's exciting and changing. 3 challenges we identified in the report. One is this very simple thing, and I'm looking forward to the next day and a half, day and 3 quarters, with the innovations, the hackathons, etc. How to build solutions for the non-IT buyers. Because we all know telcos aren't really great at selling or marketing to developers. They don't wear the cool t-shirts. But the non-IT buyers, the business people that are buying, that like to buy from telcos, they are looking for new solutions. So it's really interesting to see how that's going to be, how the challenge is going to be overcome. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Capturing the buyer attention. Crucial. Not all telcos are really great at marketing in different ways than price and the latest iPhone. It's a challenge. And then, of course, closing the deal. Solution selling. That's not a thing that's challenging for some of the more traditional companies in the telco space. Selling bundles or SIM cards is slightly different than selling solutions like contact centers, consultative selling, all these things. We all know that. It can be overcome. We have examples. And number 4, the bonus challenge, simplifying the state of the art. All these new things like AI, security. Enterprise buyers find it difficult to keep up. We as an industry need to educate them, we need to show them the way, we need to give them the examples, we need to work together to really put the solutions in the hands of the enterprise buyers at the end. Now, in the report, we have a couple of companies where we describe what they're doing and why they're different. Radio is a low-code, no-code platform, doing a massive rollout together with EN Enterprise right now in the Middle East region, which is pretty huge, with CPaaS-enabled applications for healthcare, stores, logistics, etc. Really cool. Check it out, what they're doing. They're an example, in my mind, they're a top 3 example of a telco that made the change from being a telco to being a solution provider for enterprises. RADASYS, CPaaS enablement. We count right now 21 CPaaS enablers, whereas a couple of years ago, that was basically Candy and Telestacks. Right now, we count 21 CPaaS enablers. So these are platforms, these are vendors that like to work, try to work, want to work with telcos, with CSPs, on developing these sorts of platforms and solutions and bringing them to market. EnableX is one of these as well, from the APAC region. BIX, interesting how they're doing how they're moving from wholesale to enterprise and back again with their CPaaS. Really interesting player to check out. And then we have Luware as a very interesting contact center solution. Small company from Europe, 100 people or so, built their contact center on top of Microsoft ACS. So they're using that sort of playing field, that CPaaS playing field that Microsoft offers to build higher value solutions, include all the AI, include all the Teams integration, etc. Totally different way to work at it. And then we have Scipio as an enabler for, in a different way, also ACS related, but also putting voice into Teams and Zoom, etc. globally, in also very focused on working with telcos. So they're described in the report. The report can be picked up on our website. I suggest you check it out. It's freely available, as I said, because we have this 50+ members that are paying for everything that we're doing. How we support the industry, real quick, and I look forward to talking to you later during these days. We're basically bringing vendors, service providers, analysts, media, all together around this theme. We organize events, we work on strategy with them, we help them with the go-to-market. We have an alliance where we bring people together for the networking. We have an advisory practice where we help with advisory, consultancy projects, and we're building an academy with learning materials because there's so much still to do in space of learning, education about what is CPaaS, how it can be used. And I would like to invite all of you to come join us in Amsterdam in September, if you have time. Like Lisbon in May, Amsterdam in September is really nice. It's a bit flatter than Lisbon, which is also nice. We'll have our first Acceleration Summit, 3 days, with all our members and a lot of non-members, where we talk about all these subjects, the SME, the channel, the AI, the telco APIs, the automation, the overlays of UCaaS and CCaaS. All of these teams will be there, and we'll have 2 days of conference and event. And I trust that you will be there as well, Jason, and we'll work on some interesting content together there as well, I hope. So thank you for your attention.